What's up, YouTube? I got something very interesting to say in this video. It just dawned upon me today, right after I posted the video that came before this one. Not long after, within an hour after, it dawned upon me. I was just really scrolling through some things on the internet, and it dawned upon me something so extremely critical that has happened, that's been wrong with my arguments for all these years. Now, this is a pretty minor thing, to be honest, but it is definitely, it's implied by the arguments I've put out, of course. It's implied by others' arguments, but more so by mine, of course, than others. When I say others, of course, I mean, neurotypicals. And I even mean, certain neurodivergence. But, the funny thing is, I have argued for this when for my arguments about paradoxes. But, again, I'm not talking about that. When I say this, I mean in the way that is not paradoxes. I mean in the way that's just, just literal. Because I've talked about how there's two different, forms of reality that we exist in simultaneously. One is more paradoxical than the other. It's very confusing, but, that is why I've laid out all these videos over the years, to make it easier to understand, get through that confusion. Anyway, I'm just going to explain it real quick because I don't want to waste time here. So it turns out I've been wrong all these years trying to say that being rich doesn't make you neurodivergent. Because, the funny thing is, this is kind of implied by the hierarchy videos I made as well. If you look at the hierarchy diagram, where I put rich people on the diagram, it doesn't even make sense if you think about it. And there's been more than one hierarchy video, of course, if you can recall. Although I don't think that... I can't remember if I still have those up on my channel. I think that not all my hierarchy videos where I actually show a diagram, I think, are still up. Deleted some of them, but I know I definitely deleted some of them, but anyway, long story short, how do I say this? The only thing I can say about this is that, being rich, I'm not saying it makes you smarter at everything. I'm not saying it fixes all the problems in your life. Depending how you define the word rich, how you define the word problems, how you define the word fix, depending how you define all those words. Now, for the definitions I'm using, I mean the definitions where you actually, eliminate the problem, and the problem is, some sort of physical phenomenon, and in a spiritual way is the best way to put it. And so if you can get rid of your problems, your spiritual problems, by taking away physical problems that are causing the spiritual problems, which is common knowledge. But I will say that technically a lot of people, and I talk about this for years, neurotypicals have always adopted this belief that somehow, if you can't solve your physical problems. You can't solve so there's certain spiritual problems you can't solve by solving the physical problems that are causing them. Well, they'll say, some spiritual problems are not caused by physical problems. Now, of course, I've been of the view for a long time on this channel that that's completely untrue. Every spiritual problem is caused by a physical problem, and vice versa. So, be that as it is, that's great because I got that right. But somehow, when you think about it, this isn't all that there is to be said about can money, how powerful is money in terms of how easy is it for money to solve physical problems that are causing spiritual problems. Again, I have talked about how there's a lot of rich people who, I gave criticisms to the idea that just because people are physically rich, that means that they're supposedly mentally rich. I would often say there's been used examples and evidences of rich people who have died young, rich people who have done extremely dumb stuff and reckless stuff like do drugs, get involved in crime, extreme crime, all the most malicious forms of crime according to the law, and have done this. The funny thing is, it's not really. It doesn't really mean anything, because the funny thing is, people fail to realize this, but like I said in my video a couple videos ago from today, if you can't really physically hurt a physical organism very much, depending on the size of their body, as well as the state of matter that the person's body was in, where they die, what state of matter, several factors. Where you die has a lot more of a control over how much pain you feel when dying than people realize. So with this hierarchy logic that if you were smarter in a higher rank because you're smarter in a higher rank in the hierarchy, well, this is a recent discovery of mine, which is that it's not only true that the smaller your body, the less pain you can feel at once. You can check out the video I made yesterday for that, for the explanation of that. But also, it's not just the size of your body. Like I said, it's where you die. I talked about state of matter and how the state of matter of your body has so much of a control over how much it would hurt when dying, even in the most seemingly grotesque ways of dying. State of matter and particles work a lot different than neurotypicals have said, as I've proven several times, of course, on this channel. So, realistically speaking, it's safe to say that dying for rich people isn't necessarily as painful as it is for neurotypicals, even if they die in very similar places from very similar causes. There's a lot more going on there than it seems. Now, is there anything that contradicts the idea that... Is there anything else to address here? Well, yeah, rich people with their riches, do they do extraordinary things? Do they have extraordinary comforts that average people don't have? Yeah, they do. There's a lot of rich people. Most rich people in history have had the same intelligence as average people, but just also have a lot of money. Now, it's this average intelligence that has so much stupidity to it, so that these individuals cannot use money as a huge... you cannot fully use money as an enhancer to their own intelligence, but they can use it as some sort of enhancement. So, realistically speaking, it's pretty obvious that, neurotypicals are wrong to say that not every rich person is a genius. Well, it's just not true. Every rich person is a genius because the enhancement that physical riches gives to the human brain is massive, even if it doesn't fully cure the brain of all of its mental illnesses. So realistically speaking, there's no way that rich people are not all neurodivergent just for being rich. And again, this would be a contradiction because, this would be a contradiction to the original arguments I gave, because you could say, well, when they die, it's so painful. Well, if you look at my most recent videos, when we take a closer look into science regarding the size of an organism, as well as the how state of matter works, given more of an accurate explanation of how state of matter works and elements work. I've been giving a more accurate interpretation of that in recent months than I ever have on my channel in its earlier sections. So that all suggests that rich people are not really, they've died, but it's not really necessarily as painful as some people who are alive. One person's death could be less painful than a person's life, depending on the different ways to control how certain sections of the body are being weakened during death, because all the stuff I already went over. So yeah, I mean, it just depends on a number of factors, but really what gets me is just the fact that, I mean, you can't say that it would make sense to say that rich people are just average people with a lot of money and they're not smarter. I mean, I did say, I mean, of course, I have argued that there's been plenty of rich people who are neurodivergent while being rich, but, to say that they're not all neurodivergent just doesn't make sense compared to the things I just brought up. But again, this is newfound evidence on my own part, so how I could have realized this any sooner, it wouldn't be possible. So, realistically speaking, I don't think that this is just big news for my channel or for me, but it's big news for others, because if others find this to be, possible, then it's more reasons for them to question their indoctrination regarding is every rich person really stronger or smarter. According to the Bible, for instance, it says not every rich person is stronger or smarter, but that's not true if what I said is true. So yeah, that's all there is to say in this video. Thanks for watching. Bye.